Hello and welcome to the next edition of the Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Voice of the Customer podcast series. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host and moderator for this ongoing discussion on IT innovation and how it's making an impact on people's lives. Our next data and security transformation use case scenario describes how Tangerine Bank in Toronto has improved its speed to new business initiatives by gaining data security agility. We'll learn how improving end-user experiences for online banking and making data more secure across its lifecycle has helped speed the delivery of a new credit card offering. Here to describe how compliance, data security technology, and banking innovation come together to support a digital business success story, we're now joined by Billy Lowe, Head of Enterprise Architecture at Tangerine Bank in Toronto. Welcome, Billy.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Glad you're with us. First, tell us a little bit about digital disruption in the banking industry. Obviously, lots of changes in many industries these days, but it seems that banking is in particular within the crosshairs of disruption.
No doubt about that. In fact, our bank used to be known as ING Direct, started in Canada about 20 years ago, and our founders initially recognized this need almost 20 years ago and started the journey. And since then, we've been full speed ahead. We are seeing the savings that we get out of eliminating all of the branches, passing that back to the clients. That message resonates very well with our client base. And so far, so good, I'd say.
And just so our audience understands, when you say online banking, there are no branches, there are no physical mortar front buildings with the word bank on the front. It's all done by mobile, via online. Am I missing anything?
The one thing that I'd like to add there, on top of the fully digital experience, we also actually dive into a little bit of the physical presence as well, but not in a traditional way. At Tangerine, we have a couple of other in-person kind of channel. One is what we call a cafe. In informal settings, you can actually get a coffee or orange juice at the cafe and get some advice. But most of the functionality is available through a digital channel, through a tablet on-site with someone guiding you along the way. And we have also started recently exploring a concept called mobile pop-ups. Not at the malls. We actually furbished a container and put them into different locations to introduce the concept of digital bank to different geography. And we found that very rewarding as well, because there are so many people that you can reach online, but there are still a good chunk of people that are not quite comfortable starting a banking relationship online yet.
Well, that brings up an interesting topic. So user expectations are also rapidly evolving in our world. Is there something about somebody who is attracted to online banking that you need to be aware of? Is there something about speed, agility? What is it about the banking customer who prefers online that you need to cater to?
Dana, you're right on the point. In this case, both speed and agility are kind of expected for a bank that highlight their services in terms of user experience online. They are now used to the Gmail inbox as well as Facebook. Everything is instant messaging. The good old days of submitting a form and waiting for someone to come back to you is gone, really gone. So from an expectation point of view, we are heavily impacted by the consumerization of technology. All of the things that you see on a smartphone, the things in terms of taking pictures and depositing a check, those are almost call it table stakes. We have to work harder at inventing things that surprise and delight our clients.
And of course, a big part of being able to delight your customers is to know them and have data about them that you can use to allow services to be customized, personalized. So data is essential. At the same time, you're in a highly regulated business where privacy issues and security are big concerns. How are you reaching the balance between data availability and data protection?
Well, step one, we in the banking business is in the business of trust. That's number one. Everything that we do, trust has to be number one, and we have to be ready for any kind of questions that we have from our client base around how we handle the information. So there's no doubt transparency will help. And over the time, with transparency, our clients learn that we are upfront in how we are using the information, and not just transparency, but also putting the information in a way that is easily understandable upfront. If you look at our registration process, one of the first things that we tell people is, here is our not so fine print in big bold fonts. And that's very important because especially on a digital bank, lion's share of the interactions are through non-face-to-face kind of interactions. So if you invest the time in being transparent, invest the time in building up your security infrastructure to protect your information and being vigilant on all of the current things that is happening, it can be done.
Well, tell us a little bit about your journey towards this new credit card offering and why putting the blocks of infrastructure investment in place in advance is so important for agility and for quality of service in a new offering.
Dana, I'll take this journey back a little bit as far as our credit card offering is concerned. We started out as a savings bank and highlighted our high interest offering at the beginning. And that resonated well at the beginning. And we quickly recognized the fact that we're going to need to expand our product offering. People actually want to use us as an everyday bank. Unfortunately, at the time, we didn't have the complete suite of products that our client would need. So over time, we built up with credit card, mutual funds, investments, mortgage, and the last piece of the puzzle is credit card. Once we have that, we can officially say to everybody, listen, digital bank is not just a peripheral bank. It's a real full-service functions that you can have and support your everyday life. Here in our case, the efficiency and the speed of adoption is key. Every month that we wait for this offering to come out of the door, we are losing opportunity, turning a regular client to a kind of full-service client, if you will. So in our case, we are starting from scratch. We have zero infrastructure. We built up the technology behind it, partnered with a few of the trusted partners to build up the infrastructure. But the foundation does take time. To do it right, foundation does take time. And one thing that not a whole lot of people understand is the foundational effort. If you spend a month or 2 months on building up the right foundation, the savings going forward is actually exponential. If you take, let's say, in this case, in HP's case, we adopted the tokenization solution for helping protecting card number information. We were able to complete the whole journey in a very quick fashion, and that saves us a lot of time because everything revolves around a card number. And if we don't get the foundation done right at the beginning quickly, the cost and schedule impact is exponential.
So quality is important because you want to get it right the first time. It's not just doing it quickly, it's also doing it correctly, because if you have to go back and redo infrastructure, wow, that can be a huge tax on your innovation and really put a cultural drag on how things proceed.
Right on, and I don't even want to think about it. Seriously, on the adoption of these foundational components, speed is key, and that saves us a lot of hassle going forward in conversion as well as data cleansing. Once the cat is out of the bag, if you will, it's so much harder.
So I've heard from other organizations, Billy, that recognize it to be PCI compliant, to have privacy issues met, that moving data around in the old-fashioned way doesn't work. That, in fact, having less data and detailed information about a customer, if you can have it as a throughput transaction, is much more desirable. Is that the case with you all? The tokenization process, encryption use, how do you, if you have a philosophy, how would you describe it about what data to keep, what data to transact, and what's the right balance?
Step one, and it's just like any other security person would tell you, you have to know where the walls are and where the doors are with the security information. And we made a conscious effort in identifying where we would need the actual card number available for, no matter for collections or for some operational process, identify who needs them, where the dollar needs to be, and lock them up. tokenization allows us to do that without too much overhead. And overall, our experience is definitely well worth investing the time, because now that I have one place to monitor, I have one door to monitor, and as soon as I allow access to these information, I would have an audit trail, who accessed what and when, how. So that gives me the comfort level that I have. And my client specifically demands it, both from a business side and even from a front-end client point of view. They appreciate that.
Perhaps for some of our audience who are not security folks per se, describe what secure data and stateless tokenization means. How does that work, pretty succinctly, but just an idea architecturally of how this actually works.
Sure. I'll paint a picture in your mind. If you imagine your card number or any kind of personally identifiable information that is important to you, think of it as a piece of fruit, an apple, and you pass it around to identify yourself. Tokenization and stateless tokenization technology that HP offer in particular is you have an exchange process. The middleman takes your apple, turn it into a pear, and he, through a specific algorithm, so that the reverse process can be applied when someone gives me a pear and asks for a actual apple, the visuals coming back to you. So every time, every piece of information that is passed along in the message exchange, we go through this process. And the key term here is stateless, of course, so that we don't have a rack of this mapping information stored somewhere, which become yet another vulnerability. So that makes our operations a lot easier, especially in a multi-data center environment.
So you get the use of that tokenization data or tokenized data, but you don't have to store it. It's not in a state in different places that then therefore have to be protected. There's fewer spots where somebody could be liable to expose that or get access to it.
No doubt. In fact, if you think about a larger scale environment where pieces of information are stored on the cloud in multiple data centers, in some cases you may not even know physically where they are. It's very difficult to make that guarantee and say, listen, we know where our information is. And that's just online. There's the backups, archival, which is all necessary to run a successful operation.
Well, great. So we've heard now that you've started from scratch with your credit card activities. You've put in the necessary infrastructure, recognizing that doing it right and fast is a great saver over time. Tell us a little bit about the actual credit card project. How has it come about, and where are you in its delivery to the market?
It's been very exciting for us. Our client has been looking forward to this, and we started a public launch in March this year after about a 6 months trial within the bank and some selected clients. We're now full force, and we've been running campaign. How do we do this? How do we attract our client? First of all, is to be transparent. So our product features is very specific, and we don't actually hide the interest rate in some ways. We are very upfront. We have fair fees. We actually offer promotions right now in 3 categories. We have 4% cashback for our product, which is a very attractive offering that the market is looking forward to. So it's been working really well.
And what's the name of the card? Is it just Tangerine Bank card, or is there a branded name to it?
Yeah, there's nothing fancy about it right now. This is our only card, so you can't go wrong.
And is it both debit and credit?
Yeah, we have a debit card for a while now. So here, in this case, credit card, we have the technology behind it. It uses the typical chip card infrastructure, as well as the MasterCard PayPass, Tap and Go, and we are also venturing into a mobile payment fairly soon, in the very near future.
That was my very next question. Now that you're a full service bank and online, more and more people are wondering, how do I automate this payment process, particularly with a mobile device? We've seen other organizations attempt this, but it doesn't seem to have gone mainstream yet. Tell us about what you foresee for mobile payments and how you think you might be a leader in that market.
We think slightly differently in this case. In the Canadian marketplace, the merchant landscape is very different from most other geography. Well over 80% of the merchants in the Canadian marketplace are already tap and go and chip ready. So the adoption of mobile payment in big vendors environments such as Apple Pay as well as Android Pay. We are very, very optimistic. Tap and Go is already a significant component of the payment process, especially for small amounts. And naturally, this is just an extension, no whether it's through the mobile phone or your watch. And the impedance that other geography has around merchants' reluctance or the infrastructure constraint doesn't really exist in the Canadian marketplace. So we're ready.
You know, it seems to me that given the emphasis on user experience and convenience, those organizations like yours that go the extra distance and make that user experience simple, transparent, and worthwhile in terms of convenience and productivity, they will just put more and more and more of their transactions into that card. It can become so central to their lives. Is that part of your strategy?
Yes, in many ways. The Tap and Go payment process, once the merchant environment supports it, is actually very, very efficient. And the more information we have around where our client is spending their time, the more we can customize our offering to cater for their specific needs and generate insights, personalized insights that support their everyday life. So no doubt about that. In fact, speaking of the credit card offering and differentiation factor, one of the things that we made it very clear is, yes, convenience comes with a cost in terms of people's comfort level in using that product. You know, if you lose your phone, what's going to happen? It could happen, right? And so we actually made it a very high priority to enable our client to actually freeze their card very, very easily. So let's say if I leave my card in a restaurant, I just pick up my phone or go to an internet-connected device, freeze my card, don't cancel it, freeze it until I find it. So we take quite a bit of time in exploring and making sure that people will feel comfortable using these new channels.
Yeah, it sounds like we're only just scratching the surface on these ancillary services that can be brought to bear when you have the underlying infrastructure in place, the security and data availability in place. It's going to be interesting the next several years of how convenience can be even completely redefined.
Yeah, we can't wait. We can't wait to continue to innovate for our clients. And in many ways, our clients are looking forward to all of these things as we progress. Banking is our everyday life. You know.
Well, great. I'm afraid we will have to leave it there. We've been learning how Tangerine Bank in Toronto has improved its speed to new business initiatives by gaining data security agility. And we've heard how improving end-user experiences for online banking and making data more secure across its lifecycle is helping to speed the delivery of even new and interesting services for consumers to help them in their banking needs. So please join me now in thanking our guest. We've been here with Billy Lowe, Head of Enterprise Architecture at Tangerine Bank in Toronto. Thank you, Billy.
Happy to be here, Dana.
And I'd like to thank our audience as well for joining us for this Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Voice of the Customer podcast. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions, your host for this ongoing series of HPE-sponsored discussions. Thanks again for listening, and please come back next time.